slippery, high glaciers as we move in towards the snow. Trexer, he gets his feet icy. No match though, so really must be careful. Savage and ZX side by side. Savage in the box, high glaciers as we move in towards the snow. As per usual, Trexer, his teammate down. He gets his feet icy. It's all up to him now.
No match
from
though, behind.
so really must be careful.
ZX had no idea what was coming, but Savage reacted well enough. But will he have the solo performance needed to start pushing themselves back into this from behind? ZX had no idea. Keep moving down on low, running low on mats as well, and so has to start thinking about a big shot. Tayson is nowhere to be seen here. Malabuka and Thomas. Revive, will it happen? Zangi won't let it. He has to hammer out.
Vico shot in the back by Malabuka as he goes completely on transition towards the next portion of the game. Low ground not going to be the best spot to stay in as a solo though. So many cliffs in the way. It's going to be hard to just make it up on your own. Queasy going back up for height once again. Mappy still popping off. He's had so many eliminations so far. Him and Diox are just going completely ham right now. Seti up front as well. Had Cammy up, it looks like at the start of the game. 114 to the head, but it's not going to be enough.
And again, players just getting caught out from behind. Nobody paying attention to the cues. Zara, Zangi, they're fighting for height though, and the area this is going to cost him. He can't quite stay in.
And they have an effect on high ground. Queasy and Vino down. Savage picks up Vino, and it is Pixie that stops Queasy. But Zara's not done. Him and Zangi had a game where they were looking really good on day 1-2 on this high ground. They don't want to stop, and they have control.
All season long, they've had it easily, nobody contesting, but now Zara and Zangi here in game 7, they're the ones to take it, they're the ones to fight for it. Mustache and Tayson still in this one, the backside of zone, not many materials, praying, hoping somebody walks into their sights. And for a moment, I think Tayson just maybe has found what he wanted, a player. Zangi, in fact, from height, has dropped down, been knocked down, and so that's going to be their lifeline in this game.
Might have been fall damage, might have been hammers all the way from down below. Malabuka is the one to have that effect again. Is it up against Mustache? What a shot on the Vanyak! Insane! And he goes straight up again. It's another 1v1, and Malabuka can't slow down. Up in the air. Not this time, though. He gets stopped. Kyrie sends another player straight into the storm. That is Mustache, as he's also last alive.
Tayson, he has to connect. He has to hold on, and Mustache will come through to clean things up. We said it was their game, their moment. The zone favored them perfectly, and they deliver.
Absolutely staying quiet, no mats, all the way back up. A resurgence. High ground facing Malabuka again, and this time winning. This duo's looking good today.
We wondered when they were going to finally start to show up, finally start to show why they are regarded as one of the best teams, why they came into the tournament as some of the favorites. And here in this game, they did it. I love the way they played this. So down low on mats, right? Back in the zone. We've seen them struggle at times this season in these situations, but keeping their cool, holding their nerve. Look at Mustache here, getting knocked all around the place, but he didn't lose focus, didn't lose concentration. Shayo, he got his revenge against Malabuka, right? He got a repeat of the 1v1 between him and Malabuka in an endgame. This time, he wins, and this time, he wins the game as well. Game 7 goes to Mustache and Tayson.
And how important is that as well? You know, kind of in the top 10, kind of middling and being the same as everyone else. Homogenous completely, you look the same as everyone in points. This is the best way to stand out.
Yeah, big game for them. This is going to be huge for their rise in the standings. The best person to break it all down for us is Frankie.
Thank you so much, but I have to say, actually, it's these guys I'm with right now, because Mini Miner and Takata, there is a reason that Tayson is called the GOAT, and he's showing that his best days aren't behind him.
No, not at all. Tayson's back. He's back in business. It's good to see Tayson and Mustache finally making it work, right? We saw them trying to get the high ground. They had a little look at it. And I think this is all about experience. This is where experience shows, because we saw them looking up to that high ground layer and they thought, you know what, let's just drop back down. That's a really mature way of playing, and a way of playing that actually worked out for them.
And I mean, what I love so much about this moment as well is, you know, now they're 1-1. Mustache, Malabuka. Malabuka got the best of Mustache yesterday, but Mustache woke up feeling a little bit more spicy today, and he showed it by the amount of eliminations he was getting in these last moments. Finally getting that last elim to secure the VR alongside Tayson. I mean, with both players up, you can see how dangerous they can really be.
It almost felt like a replay of yesterday's Game 6. Yes, the circle was in a very different position, but we did see those the potential of their fighting in Game 6, and it feels like they've gone away overnight and they've just tweaked and fixed those issues, and now they've come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, the zone definitely helped them there. Of course, we had so many west zones yesterday. Now, finally, an east zone to have a look at. And, of course, they made it count. It's one thing getting the zone on your favor, but if you can't make it count, then what is the point, right? But these guys are so experienced. They're very, very good at getting those Storm Surge tags early. We've seen them getting Storm Surge tags on the south side of Slappy. They have been rotating out a little bit later, of course, when they're going to that west side. Now the zone is in their back garden. They can just play and pop off.
Right, and this is a boost in momentum for the duo. I mean, taking a look at the standings, they were starting off in the top 5, but now with that victory royale, they're in second place with 315 points. This duo is going to be on fire today.
It's an interesting one as well, seeing Thomas and Malabuka move up the rankings. They were so good at playing for placement yesterday, but they're a little bit low on limbs, and it feels like now they're starting to find the groove.
Starting to find their groove, but again, it's back to normal. It's solo clutches. That was the storyline that we set up yesterday. Malabuka, Thomas HT, two incredible players in their own right as solos. And again, they had to bring it all out. Malabuka had to be on the ball here because he was, again, clutching up as a solo. Took out Mr. Savage beautifully on that low ground layer. And this is exactly what Malabuka's so good at. We talked about his solo prowess, his solo ability at getting victory royales. Of course, he held the record, I believe, in the solo victory cup with 5 wins, only to be overtaken today. But of course, this is a fantastic on match there actually with Malabuka, but a fantastic end game from Malabuka, and he just shows his experience so well.
Is it going to be enough though? I mean, in the qualifiers, Thomas and Malabuka, they made it to third zone in 18 out of 18 matches, but their issue was the late game. They always got split up and ended up having to solo clutch. They're going to have to play as a duo if they want to take that #1 spot. Now, although he popped off here, Malabuka got his big game, I want to see more consistency from this duo in the late game, both of them being up, because I know they're capable of getting that first place spot.
I think that we might see them take a victory royale before the end of today. But there's another duo who got 2 victory royales yesterday, and they're still showing no signs of slowing down. It's Janice and Reason.
Janice and Reason, what a start for these guys. Of course, not actually ending up in the best way, but of course, off spawn, they had 2 eliminations straight off the bat. They had a third one then again, and these guys making a really, really interesting rotate that we're going to break down in just a moment. They are so good at picking up eliminations off spawn here, because even though they were uncontested yesterday, we may maybe raise a few questions as to whether they were going to be contested. Now that they are contested, it's fine. It's back to normal. They can handle it. It's fine. Reason's too good.
No problem at all for this duo. Contest me if you want, they said. Now getting those quick elims. We can see this is actually the rotation they did. So now that they had the Storm Surge with those 3 eliminations, they said, okay, instead of going through the zone itself, let's go out of the zone. Let's go as north as we can around the mountains, take some storm damage, and get into zone safely. But not only get into zone, let's get to the dead side of zone, the least congested side, because we don't have to worry about Storm Surge tags. We just want to worry about positioning and conserving our materials and shields.
Yeah, so let's take a little look at how they, of course, went about this. This kind of reminds me of Chapter 3, Season 3, when Janice and Vidil won, because Janice was doing this exact same thing, getting to that dead side of zone after getting so many Storm Surge tags early. It's deja vu. He's doing it exactly the same way, going into the storm, which is something we don't often associate with teams. You don't often go into the storm. You want to stay in that safe zone, but they thought, you know what? We know there's loads of mobility on that north side of the map. We know there's plenty of white heals. Let's just go for it. So, of course, they got those 3 eliminations.
It's the Carl's Jr. and Hardy's Happy Star. And the famous Star Burger. And the Superstar Burger. So many stars. My Rewards members get exclusive offers on the Carl's Jr. and Hardy's app.
Hey, so what if we have questions about our pal?
I want to see what Ozzy's doing for now. I just want to thank everybody for watching the YouTube instead of going to like Ozzy's or like someone else's. Thank you though.
East zone, they can do it, and they proved it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if the eliminations start stacking up for the dominant teams at the top of the table, because as we've already mentioned, Thomas and Malabuka, they are incredibly good at getting to the first few zones, but then they're only really taking the eliminations when they really
Top 3 looking fire. Top 3 is looking a bit more like we expected. I would say if you predicted Rezon and Yanis to win, I don't know what you were predicting off, but hey, you're just the GOAT apparently. Because their season has been pretty sketchy.
Predictions, though, where do you think the circle's heading in this next game?
Look, I think it's going to be a north zone, and I think Queasy Vino.
Me too, yes, me too.
Southeast. You gotta hit first.
Queasy Vino as well?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, why not? Well, I'm not going to say Queasy and Vino, but I am hoping we're going to see resurgence for Seti and Kami, guys. I still believe as we head into game number 8.
Shit better than the couch. It's more I can do more from here. So because Merit is here, I'm doing the predictions, I'm doing the giveaways. Like I can't do all that from the couch. So
stakes seem so much higher on the second day.
it is comfy though.
In my opinion, from the games that we watched yesterday, so much more action earlier on this time.
Yeah, I enjoyed that game. That game was really fun to watch.
Just how much the zones can actually impact how these games play out. I think the first time we see an East zone, whole different flavor to the lobby in terms of just who's really in there, who's really having a say in how these end games are decided.
Yo, Verox, thanks for Prime.
Dominance personally.
Absolutely.
I'm liking Levin's top. It's trippy.
And we can see from their perspective how they reacted to every other duo inside the game. A nice, very, easy, efficient retake towards the end as well. A lot of other duos, I feel like Levin thrive in that chaos. They're not as premeditated as Jason percent.
To not lose your nerve. Make sure if you are one of those lesser experienced teams higher in the standings, you use this game to get back into your rhythm, back into your flow. I think the biggest problem and the biggest hurdle for those teams in that regard will be some of them, like I said last game, they're almost playing a whole different game today, right? They're not having the same circumstances, the same setups that allowed for them to have success in day one, and they're struggling to deal with that here in day two.
East side, also just a big environmental test. You have to basically play 4 different Fortnite games while playing a different game, like you're mentioning. So it's an ultimate challenge.
28 points. 28 points. I mean, like...
Business as usual in terms of what's happening off spawn for a bunch of these southern teams. It's north where there's a big change. Reason down to 1 HP.
Hold on.
And it looks like for the first time taken down. Gutenberg cannot find the finish in time. Siphon there. But Janus has a few shots already. 8 HP.
Exactly. Did I not?
Wait just a minute here.
I just told you that was karma.
Metkin and Bait has the loadout too for spam and close range shotgun. This is going to be a very tough fight for Janus to finish. And it's going to be a 2v1 to play too.
This was the banker, this was the master plan, this was the one that couldn't fail. We said they wouldn't have any problems on spawn, and here we are in game 8, everything's gonna ride. Janus should not be here in a situation where he's thinking, am I gonna be able to survive and get Reason rebooted? But Forzen and Guden have completely turned things on their head.
I thought this would be absolutely locked in for Janus having trouble, complete trouble now off spawn, but that push, just the sound of the builds. Although it's a nice fight from Guden to start, Forzen cannot stick that res completely. 1 second off towards the end.
Oh my god, or Janus and Reason, then they're gonna have to, this kid's gonna have to go.
I want him to use his medkit, because just seeing his HP so low is, putting me on edge. But this is a big hurdle in their pursuit of holding on to first place.
Pixie's seen the elimination off rip as well, and he's hunting. Leaving Blackwater so fast. They're chasing Janus down, trying to find some way to get involved in this early fight. Wise and Jaggy as well. Record time of staying alive. Usually this fight is over in a coin flip.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because Fred and Marius did have a fair share of success against them. But it seems like Jackie and Boaz have actually started off today a bit more confident, a bit more in their flow. Of course, first time FNCS final players. And I think maybe that first day where things didn't quite go how they wanted, which may be an understatement, has allowed them to sort of come into today almost carefree, right? Not applying that same pressure they would have applied to themselves in day one. So key, the mental games that go into competing at the highest level of Fortnite. Of course, you've got your tactics, you've got your
I'm pretty sure the least amount of
strategy, you've got your actual skill in the server, but is your mentality on point?
That's still gonna be good.
That is the difference maker between the best of the best and everybody else in these lobbies. Della and Pixie over here at Breakwater Bay. They're actually gonna be in a bit of a fight there against Forzen and Guden. I'm sure they're wondering, hold on a minute, that's not Janus and Reason.
It's not normal for them at all. That changes everything in terms of who has control and who's consistent coming top down into the zone. They're really delaying this fight as much as possible. I think that's the switch up from Boaz and Jaggy. It's looking to be going the same way though in terms of who's winning and where the pressure's applied. Fred and Mario still have to work for this. That's just the issue. So much more time invested. They're not in zone. Good tracking over from Fred. And with a little bit of hesitance, or turbulence, I should say, he ends up winning the fight.
I've become a bigger fan of Fred throughout this competition. I feel like game after game we watch him and he just impresses me so much in just how he deals with these situations in the early game. So consistent.
That's an interesting straw right there.
So assured in all of his decisions and all of his actions. Clutch when needed as well. Janus taking a different approach to, I think, what we're going to see from A lot of players in this lobby. Going for a quick little swim,
Like,
cooling off.
What does he know?
What does he know? What is out there that we don't know about? Something out there.
Bubble on
Sleeper cell that just has like another reason inside that he can pick up. Don't be surprised if he finds him somehow at the end of this game, is alive as a duo.
Our winners of the first game tasting the mustache there. Looking fine over towards Snappy. Gonna be farming up all the plenty of metal that's available to them there
God,
at
wait, they
Faulty
might actually-
Splits though. Faulty Splits has been one of those spots this season, or it's been the spot this season where you just have so many different teams.
What's it called? I'm gonna try
I wonder what
Swizzy and beat him.
this season would look like if people just decided not to contest there and there was just one team that landed Faulty. I'm sure they'd win every event. Such a strong POI, so much loot, which is why so many different teams contest. But the problem is when you get all these teams contesting, it becomes exactly what we're seeing here on our screens, an absolute mess.
It's not the worst too, especially if that happens. You still might have a chance to be able to get out of that chaos, but then the biggest issue is the zones we've been seeing in EU week after week, even in these finals specifically, so far away from Fault. You can't even spend time trying to assess, organize what happens off spawn in your POI. Malibuga Thomas this time taking no chances as they rotate. And on that last game, got pretty deep inside of the game. Still looking for that old sense of control from both Malibuka and Thomas when it comes to either having height or just really good claiming of their mid-ground lair. It seems like right now, they're still just getting tossed completely. They're just trying to survive up until the final 1v1s or, you know, the cleanup solo clutches that happen. Surprise today, I think that towards the end of yesterday's this duo on screen, Hydro, Fastaroki. We saw them gaining a little bit of momentum, shooting from kind of the bottom 20s all the way up to almost top 10 now. After that last game too, affecting a few of the teams that were in half and half in that first moving zone.
I want to see the big comeback.
It's been crazy here in Faulty so far. And the fights are still going down. These guys thrive on just picking one person apart. Every time there's a messy fight, Hydro Fastaroki, preemptual vultures, maybe that's the term for them. Get to the body before it's starting to be scavenged. I don't even know. But they're really good at finishing off stragglers and then moving on from that.
I'm looking at this team though on our screens here, Shayo. Hell and Refs, both adding the Nada to their name. That's a homage to Canada over in NA East, who has been very impressive this season and very impressive yesterday as well. Maybe hoping they can access some of his skill level today.
Swizzy. Okay, let's hope they
What is the Canada skill they're trying to possess?
Just,
what are they trying to inject?
Just absolute boss.
I mean, this team from
Canada's a big dog. He doesn't play around in these lobbies.
That's true. Big sea-level energy. I think this just becomes a survival game on who can stick together so far all the way towards that fifth zone. It gets so tricky once you get to that third. So many people having surge issues inside these finals. The theme of the games today, too, just so different from that first day. We were surprised looking at the leaderboard. What are all these names? What happened to the top Titans who should be top 5? Why are there people on the second page in 17th that should be in 4th, 6th, or 8th? How much of the new teams now, because of the change in language of these finals, because of just the issues with translations of the first 7 games and now all the way to 7 and 8, they might start to fall. Floki Bat Sniper were very active in that day 1, looking really good at kind of getting at least out of spawn, but then also kind of succumb to that 3rd, 4th zone issue. 8 people rotating with you. How do you survive?
I think a lot of that volatility, though, is down to just, you know, what we've seen this season in terms of the trends of the meta, and the point format's obviously a lot different to what we've seen previously. So you're rewarded a lot more for having those one-off pop-off games, which we know are very possible. The use of shockwave hammers and how players are using them to just bounce all around in endgames and cause so much chaos for some of those more consistent teams.
Consistency is a big thing. You need your duo alive, though, so let's check in with Taco to see what's been going down in some of these early spawn fights.
Well, Shayo, as far as Giannis and Reason are concerned, Giannis, fortunately enough, was able to actually get the reboot successfully there for Reason. And despite the fact that this duo struggled a little bit early on with that off-spawn contention, the fact that Reason is now back in the action is awesome. But at the same time, this is at Breakwater Bay. This duo has a pretty long rotation before they can actually get themselves safely into zone and look for optimal positioning. And it's going to take them some time to build up the resources and looting around the area. So we'll see just how far they can go.
Thank you so much, Taco. So the last time we were watching Janus, he swam off the island, went on an adventure to a different one, found the DNA of Reason, made a clone, and now he's back. That's my headcanon.
That's how things went.
If they made a movie of this FNCS, yes, that would be based on a true story, you know?
Okay. Well, like Taco said, they have a ways to go to zone. They need to get themselves some loadouts. And they ultimately need to start thinking about how to deal damage as they move down as well. Missed out on a lot of time to be good on Surge. They're ultimately playing behind the rest of the lobby. You think about it like a race. Everybody is trying to run to the finish line. These guys are way behind. They have a lot of catching up to do if they're to make anything of this game.
I don't think that's Savage.
But the big thing with them again, which we will always highlight for as long as they have the lead, is that just holding on, just staying alive in games and picking up placement points here and there does wonders for them. Here they are on our screens now. Back into the safe zone at least. Well, not safe zone, sorry, but not in the storm. They need to run to the safe zone, which is what they're going to be doing here. There's a team positioned in front of them up on that hill that they need to be a bit more aware of. I think Janus did see the builds then, so he knows they're there.
Biggest trouble for them, though, is that usually they have Surge kind of figured out. Usually they have a few fights off spawn and some shots. They move a little bit early, but because of just trying to get Reason scarred, get him back up. Dennis has shot no one, 248 below. Gonna need that desperate box fight, it looks like.
Wouldn't be surprised if they maybe even tried to make a sneaky play on that team on the hill. Try to get a free beam, a free tag. Nebs and Pink over here towards Frenzy. Zone a bit more favorable to them in this game. And we did see a huge game 5 from Pink and Nebs that pushed them into the top 10. They did fall out of position a bit after that, but there is still hope for this team in the composition. They have to deal some damage though. 27 above Surges. Not where they need to be.
Frenzy feels turning from something that's usually barren to a complete community. Nebs caught again. There's another 50 pot that's traded for no damage whatsoever. A lot of the times people will over peak, look to trade a few shots and use their shields. That's about 100 or 2/3 of the 50 pots that Nebs has, and nothing's happened just yet.
Let's see if they can.
Dealer and Pixie.
This is a pretty good
250 below.
Let's see if they can get the
uncharacteristic. I feel like just trying to go for that Janus hunt at the start interrupted their game plan, but there against JJ2 also looks weak. Usually that's not the issue. This man is under control of the situation. Could be a trap though. 120 from Dilo looks good. And he's not stopping. Pixie right behind him. Walls dropping from shotgun shots over and over again. Nothing in the chamber though. Dilo's forced to just use the spray. A team looking in from the safe zone also providing pressure. And so many shots now. Dilo has to be careful. It's an all-in. And Pixie's got nothing.
Pixie so low on HP now in this fight. Glubsheet doesn't have JJ2 anymore. He was able to return fire, but Pixie, Della taken out. Look, you mentioned the fight where they were looking to try and pick up Janus earlier on. They wanted to take that fight because they're used to fighting, right? They're not used to not being contested by Axe Force and Vortexes, and it's causing them these surge issues we're seeing here in this game. Reason and Janus are in a similar position to what they were in, but they're handling things a lot better, able to out-heal. They have a shield kick here, they have a bunch of shields.
Have a win condition now too. We know the loadout for Janus, so many chunk splashes to be able to use and go for these fights. How did they get back into this game? Who did they pick apart to get the hammer? We'll see just here in a second. So Janus had that one Elam off spawn already. They go for Flodax, who's trying to heal or do something in these boxes. A complete dive in. Split. And in a second, it's easy for the duo. They now look like they're better even than they were off other games off spawn. So many mats to be able to use. Janus already has the loot from the entire duo. Now they picked up a few more from Flodax.
Still very much in this game. They just won't allow themselves to be taken out of this race by any means.
You see the investment from so many duos. Some who land here, Nebs and Pink, kind of their home, but at the same time, I don't know if rents got higher. They have like no mats, no resources, no money. They're broke. How are they gonna move in this zone? 15 builds in total for Nebs. Not sure how many Pink's on. Versace and Tayson, they'll look to be landlords in this sense. Rich, and still looking for damage all around. Tayson taking a bit.
Surge.
But if Jazz and Reason get to a good part now, I mean, they're once again undetected in the way they move. Everyone in front of them is looking at someone else. I think that's Analyst to the left.
Ooh, Reason's in a
Finally
crack.
sees him. No, it's
Let's see if
Malabuka, it looks like.
thing that Josh and Tastes need to win this.
He's finding a few already in the feed, but Dennis and Reason are kind of getting away.
That's gonna happen today.
With daylight robbery here, here's Malabuka, yeah, on that north side.
Gets the elimination on
Gets one half of that user duo down. Him and Thomas picking up a few on the way.
Yeah, now they can just move into zone pretty easily. There's a bush here. It isn't quite in zone. I'm sure they would have wanted to sit in that, maybe trade some tags if possible.
Reason picks up 4 textures as well. These guys are climbing the ladder.
Get rich quick. That's exactly what they've done in this game, turning things completely around from a position where many people would have thought it was over. Now they're actually a threat in this lobby.
I mean, this is a very different situation for Janice and Reason specifically.
Marius might be a gift to them as well. He's peeping up behind them. I'm sure they'll get the sound cues. They've heard him.
Yep.
So they'll be aware he's walking in here.
Oh, he's solo.
And that's
another!
Easy. 3 for them.
Refill on splashes. A lot of mats, max and metal now for Janice. The choice of impulses too. Reason goes in, upgrades a few rarities. They're looking so good.
That's too easy. It's too easy for them. You can't give them that much room. You can't give them that much opportunity. You wouldn't even be able to tell the game started the way it did for them. Right, this game started with Reason completely out of it. Janice swimming way towards the north of the island.
They do have
looking like he'd given up, and now look at him.
You can tell he does not want to use those heals.
Now, if I'm Janice, I'm running a thank you note to the players off spawn for taking out Reason and making the game go in this way. Thing is, though, it's not going to be completely roses for the team. Janice Reason are used to having control, like Mustache and Tayson right now, like Queasy and Vino usually, up high by themselves, knowing exactly where to go towards the next moment in the game.
We're going to mute that just for this game. Ooh, Karmi right there. Right there. He does not seem like he wants to go. At least into zone, probably. Let's see. Let's see who else is getting tagged. Ooh, Swizzy is still in there. They look like they're in a good position right now. Ooh, what place are they in right now, though? Swizzy toxic. Oh yeah, and Swizzy 37. Oh wait, but that's not in cumulative. Where are they? Oh, they're in 6. That's not bad. It's gonna be harder for them to catch up since they already had that lead. The lead, but they are Versace and Tayson are gonna have to get that big win, or maybe even Thomas HG. They're gonna have to get eliminated if they do not want them to have this big win. If they have this big win, they're gonna be so far in lead, considering each win is around 65 points. They are going to have this big lead, which they do not want. That open.
And 50 damage above Surge. Chari and Gears finally looking like they're normal. It took a game. But they're isolated, they're right by themselves.
Look at the zone, they have to rotate, right? It's gonna be a tough one to get into zone. It's gonna be so congested there. The silver lining is, of course, they have a shockwave hammer.
They also kind of just have a free lane. On the right side, there's a river separating them and all the other pressure. They could possibly just go right by, as everyone's focused on box-to-box fights. This entire length of an island strip right now is just looking at each other, wall to wall.
The problem is, though, when they get into zone, there's going to be so many builds there, and they don't have a lot of mats.
I think zone's just all water as well, so this is going to be tough. Mixon actually falling down. Lots of pressure on the back against the wall. We know that Nevs might be low on mats right now, so they need this fight. Yes, absolutely. No wood left. Half on metal and brick, even less so. They do pick up a few eliminations. Should almost be good with the low on surge too. This is absolutely drastic for almost every single team, and the entire zone is aquatic. There is no land.
And you just have to hold on to your builds. If you get broken out by a shockwave hammer, you're gonna find yourself floundering in the water. Reese and Janice, they managed to find a spot in the zone.
But how will they survive?
Nice spot. They picked up Caddy as well.
Look at their mats though. Okay, now that's good. They finally have the full siphon coming in. There's like a down payment to stay in here right now. You need at least half mats completely full.
Gotta be careful.
Reason drop down, hammered out, but that's straight into high water.
Emergency, big emergency. And you see the reaction from Reason. It's just to get out of dodge as quickly as possible. Play for yourself, play as a solo. We can regroup with Janice in a second. And that is what they'll do.
Queasy and Vino though.
Surprise, surprise.
It's just like a water park vacation. No issues for them whatsoever. And the zone will be pulling all the way back to land.
And everyone having to use so much mats to get across the water. Even if you have a shockwave hammer, one bounce alone isn't going to quite get you to zone unless you're way up on the north. And so you will have to use a bit of mats, most likely. And that just makes it so much easier for those teams on that side. Queasy, Veno, look, that Taste and Mustache were not too far beneath them as well, so they could very much have a good game here.
Everyone knows if you're on height right now, all the duos below you are an absolute shambles.
Look at the view they have. They're taking shots. That's Janice and Reason they're taking shots at. They've put them to a stop. Reason has to stop and build for a moment. He can't just get in.
To look for more pressure on the left side, eyeing where they need to be in the zone. Alabuka Thomas doesn't look like they're in absolute trouble, but still lots of people in the boxes around them. What a rotate from Alabuka in between all the builds. Thomas is not going to be with him completely for now, just slightly ahead, but they'll find each other.
Careful, not sitting on comfortable ground by any means. Geras and Chari, they're desperately trying to find something. They need their first elimination of the game to be sometime soon. Not able to stop that player from hammering away. Reason and Janice, they fall here just outside of the top 20. Tasting the Mustache though, they keep moving, they find a refresh. And that is so crucial. Those mats are going to go such a long way for them as they now start to make their move. As the zone will pull again.
Savage and ZX also inside this game have one of the best positions to be able to play from low ground. Shimoki and Swizzy have to play catch up, but the most important thing is they're together. Double hammer there too. Shimoki, a very good adjustment. He's gonna be right beside Swizzy once again. They'll be able to keep firing. Lupchi though, kind of almost by himself. They got no mats. They have to go for an all-in.
They have to find them fast, but a player right behind them. That's Elnada, still in this game. He was looking like he was going to be out a couple minutes ago, but now he finds 2-3 elims. Savage, ZX, do they know they're going to have to start rising? The zone's moving up. Everybody has to elevate here.
Trouble in Paradise shoot for Tayson and Mustache. Had so much control. Now Mustache down, all Tayson to go for this clutch. I don't see a hammer though, so there has to be manual movement interrupted towards the backside. Tires punctured. This vehicle, this behemoth is slowed down.
He might have to get that thing off the road and just sit for a moment, refuel. Queasy, Vino, it's so easy for them though. As everybody is squeezed beneath the zone, underneath this hill, they can just chill from above. Savage trying desperately to stay alive. ZX nowhere to be found to help him. He just has to play as a solo, and still nobody really causing a challenge to Queasy and Vino.
2/3 of the lobby filtered out by one clip. Nev's barely just surviving. Vino and Queasy have not stopped shooting for the last minute in a row. Nev's finally making it in, somehow with Pink alive. They made it through that great filter. ZX and Savage, it's just ZX. He's finally down. 4 healers for the duo though. They're looking good. Malabuka and Thomas somehow have survived that chaos too. They were on low for quite a hot minute. 5 different duos now alive. They go all the way down towards the left off the cliff, have to try to make it back. Zangi's also somehow camouflage, makes it all the way to low, but Queasy finds his head too.
They tried to go for high last game. There will be no thought about that now. All it is thinking about staying alive. Zara needs some mats. He needs Zangi to build for him. Things starting to cool down for a second, but that just gives Queasy and Vino even more time to finish the master plan. King eventually falls. He gets taken out by Thomas. And Nebs now as a solo also going to fall at the hands of Zangi. These two though, they've controlled the low ground. They've dominated everything here.
They're siphoning all the elims for themselves, squeezing now no materials whatsoever. So this might just be the Thomas show in just a second. Shimoki exposing himself on the left side. Zara finally going down. Queasy has some time to delay and a few builds to hide behind. Vino finally looking in, but once again they have no control. Vino's the only one with mats to be able to play. Thomas has picked up both eliminations. A tree in the way, could be able to split a few mats for Squeezy to use. Final 2v2, and Malabuka is going up for it. A little bit of control, but look at the cost for it. A big shot. He's gonna get it off. Fino taking the damage, but Malabuka will go down. They find each other once again. The same tile to use. Squeezy's now building for Fino. Thomas HP advantage. Squeezy from the backside, and what a win.
What a way to do it as well in a game where everybody seemed to be struggling with resources. Even at the end when they had nothing left, they still made it work, mantling around the different builds and connecting every single shot at the end. A big win and a second win now for this team.
It looks like they were like blinking the brain almost, right? One player out of match, they're able to follow that well right behind them. Still providing pressure. Vino, the leader when he had that bad advantage, and then immediately switching to the follower, looking for every single shot. A great one hit of the Malabuka up top. That was just absolutely glorious.
Yeah, and you see there to finish the game. Squeezy at the end hitting the crucial shot onto Thomas was so huge. That's his teammate. They play with each other all the time. But in this moment, there are no friends at all. You have to get it done. And connecting, Thomas didn't even see it coming.
It's like they have an X-ray active to know the field exactly to the pixel. Squeezy and Vino in control in both days.
And look, we were all the way at the south of the map. This is another game now where Zone is nowhere near the north, but no problem for Squeezy and Vino. They just win the game.
That was a very stressful game for all of you. I feel like so many mats costed on that water, and then they have to rotate and go through a great filter. I need Frankie's reaction. I need to see the analysts. That was just insane.
It was insane. And you know what else was insane? The fact that Takata called this victory royale just before game number 8 kicked off. I said, who's taking it? And you said with complete confidence, Squeezy and Vino. How did you know?
Look, I called it. Also, many agreed on the side as well. We both called it. Messed up a little bit on the zones, but what matters is they got the victory royale. Squeezy and Vino, we know they want that first place spot. We know they want to lift up that trophy, so this victory royale, it's one step of the way.
And what's most interesting as well is they actually did it in the same zone yesterday. It's a very similar sort of zone they actually did it in, which is so far away from their drop spot. And again, it's deja vu. They've got a victory royale from high ground in that exact same zone, and this is just perfect stuff from Squeezy and Venno. What I find interesting about the way that Venno's playing this as well is he actually picked up one of those tactical assault rifles midway through this end game, and he actually just uses that to keep applying the pressure down below. I think this was the elimination where he actually managed to pick it up, and this was so crucial in applying all of that pressure. We can see it here, using all of that light ammo to make sure that nobody down below even stood a chance.
Squeezy with the light ammo, or Vino with the light ammo, Squeezy with the medium ammo, splitting it up to make sure they can shoot for as long as possible. I remember Shayo said it, they were raiding from above for over a minute on all the players down below, and it seems like they kind of enjoy rotating far from the POI, as now, like you said it, Minnie, the second time they've got a victory royale went into southern zone and they dropped north. So I don't know what's up with this duo, but they like high ground and they're doing it right.
Do you think they thrive when the high ground is at its most complicated? Because the 5th zone was in the water, so everyone's using their materials. If you don't, you're going home early in this particular game. And because they have got that experience, perhaps that's what really gave them the momentum going into those final zones.
Yeah, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. When those teams down below don't have materials, they're having to expend them, the high ground team's always going to benefit.
Let's talk now about Malabuka and Thomas, because this is a duo that, as we keep talking about, are great at getting towards the end game, but when they get there, they're not always going all out for those limbs. We know that Malabuka can pick up those names, but Thomas, hello, in that game, he was on fire.
Yeah, it's back to normal for Thomas, really. Realistically, we've seen Thomas do this before. He is such a talent, especially when he gets to these end games. They have been able to pick up eliminations, not quite as many as before because they have been solos, but now they're together. They're shoulder to shoulder. They're able to pick up eliminations left, right, and center. And oh boy, did they have such a good end game to Casa.
Look, it's not common to see Thomas miss, and the damage that they can unfold onto their opponents in these late games when they're up as a duo, both Malabuka and Thomas. I mean, we saw here, this was a 2 versus 2 with 2 of EU's Titans, and it was exactly what I expected.
Exactly what we expected. Low ground versus high ground. Quite possibly 2 of the best players on the low ground versus 2 of our best players on the high ground. I don't know what it is about Squeezy and Venno. They're so good. Whenever a team hammers below them, whenever you're on high ground, it's so easy to get chopped out by hammers below. In those final moments, Squeezy and Venno are actually just so good at getting that first damage shot off to win that every single time. I don't know how they do it. It's incredible.
They do it every time, though. And now the leaderboard is looking a little bit more like I think I would have expected. Tayson and Merstash in third place. Malibuca Thomas in second. Janice Reason still holding that first place. But let's look a bit about Tayson, Merstash, how they performed in this late game, because we saw them popping off.
We did. We also saw particularly Tayson popping off. Now, we talk about Merstash, of course, being the fragger of this duo, getting all those eliminations. But let's just talk about Tayson for a moment. Look at this, 15 teams remaining. He managed to stay alive for so long. Obviously, courtesy of those chug smashes in the zone. But this is a perfect way to play this. Very, very sneaky, not having to expend too many materials. A few zone pullbacks definitely helped him here, but he was able to pick up eliminations. Tayson is back. He did it in the last game. He's doing it again as a solo. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to become fragger Tayson. Why not? Let's do it.
We should talk about what could have been a very sticky situation for Janice and Reason, because Reason had to be rebooted, and statistically it's very unlikely for a duo that has to reboot to actually get to the later stages of the game. But when we caught up with them later, both players were still in the lobby and they were picking up limbs.
Yeah, they weren't just in the lobby, they were thriving. They were picking up eliminations, which is exactly what you need to do, because of course you are back in the storm. You don't have that storm surge tags early on. You also of course don't have the loot that you would have benefited from if you didn't reboot. But these guys just showed exactly what you do. Pick up the refreshes. They absolutely had amazing materials. Chug smashes, what more can you want?
Look, they didn't get the victory royale, but they've been holding on to that first place spot right now with 408 points. The gap between first and second, though, it is closing more and more as the games go on. So hopefully if Janice and Reason want to hold that #1 spot, they're going to need a bigger match than these recent ones.
They need a win, really, don't they? They need another one.
They need to not have to do a reboot.
Yeah.
But kudos to them for still managing to pick up some crucial elimination and placement points in what was that difficult situation. But hopefully the zone for them will fall in their favor, because we have been having these delicious southeastern circles. This is what we wanted to see. I wonder if it's going to fall in that direction again, as yesterday was so north dominant. What would you like to see though from this next game?
Swizzy and Shimoki, they had a solid last game. We didn't see them in the previous game, but they had a decent last game right there. I believe it was third or fourth, potentially, where they were together as a duo. They are so good when they get to that end game. I mentioned it earlier, kind of like Merstash and Malibuca when they used to play together. So if they can get some more consistent end games, they could break into that top 3.
I'm riding that train. I'm riding the Swizzy and Shimoki train. I love to see them performing so well for their first time on EU and first time in the EU Grand Finals coming from Asia. I'm really excited to see if they can do it, and I believe that they're going to get the VR this game.
Well, choo-choo, boys, because it is time for game number 9.
There are not many more games left to finally make your mark in this major. It is so exciting to be here right now, because not only do we have some of the best players, the reigning champion Janice currently holding first place with his teammate Reason. We have the 3 favorites for the season coming into things in the positions after him.
Tayson Merstash in the business, Thomas HD Malibuca. Looks like everyone's predictions kind of rose off the social media pages right onto the leaderboards, right? Top 4 is the top 4.
Who would have expected to see Thomas and Malibuca sitting in second place? We get to hop right back into all the action and see which one of these teams is going to do their best to catch up. The lead today started at 70 or something points, and we're down to about 20-point lead for Janice. Things are quickly coming into a big competition for first place. Has to do his best to hold on now.
This is live yes. It's just so much fun to see when you're a consistent team and one game has a big issue. One game goes wrong. You turn that 70 into a 20, turn the 20 to a -30. Who knows? You might not be first anymore. You're second looking up. Vino Queasy still trying to climb back. Nevs and Pink also working it up all the way on the boards. So many teams all the way from 15th now inside that top 10.
In those tags again, just like he's taking
this has turned into a classic EU day.
To get those wins.
That first day was still surprising, Levin. We were like, could this be different? Is this the one?
I think it does.
Same old EU. Same old EU. The cream always rises in this region. Malibuca, Thomas, Merstash, Tayson, Queasy, Vino. Those were the 3 teams everybody had as their top 3 in some sort of order coming into the finals. Janice, Reason, the ones currently holding on. And then in 5th place, right, another very exciting team, Shimoki, Swizzy. These guys, a team from a new land coming into EU, performing so well. This is one of my favorite top 5s we've had in the EU FNCS final. And of course, there's still so many more Fortnite to play. We're not done yet.
I guess there are 2 more games.
Not at all. And the big thing too, past the top 5 as well. Day 1 is not too far away. Usually We see that first day's effects completely gone, lost in the bottom 40 maybe, or in the top 30. We have Giras and Carry right there in top 6, very close by in points. The day one almost pseudo leaders, right? I know Janice and Reason were in the business so far ahead, but they were actually setting pace more than anyone else. They were the surprising duo that came out of the gate and had that throne sometimes. Also have a chance to cement their names as basically becoming legends of their own right. Pablo Wingu and Bevies, who I still think have the most impressive performance out of the week so far. The week 2 absolute hurricanes. Haven't found their aggressive angles to be the most successful inside the grand finals. But it feels like, at least in this game, they got a little bit of a spring to their step.
Yeah, they've not quite found the form from previous competitions, but never say never. It's not over till it's all said and done.
They're gonna get more aggressive this game. Pablo just got cracked.
Stopping the tracks for now. The Siptos with the name change too.
Dark Desi. Everybody trying to access the inner hero or inner villain in this case, right? Going to the dark side. What does that entail for his performances and the way he plays today?
Bevies and Pablo Wingo backing up. That was
Looks like
probably a mistake.
Malabuka and
They
Thomas
shouldn't have
HD
done
did
that.
something with the dark side. Looking sinister in these first 2 games. They're finding the spots they love to be in. They've climbed so far. What was it, 9th or 7th, and now all the way 2nd place? 20-point deficit? Huh? Did we miss a game?
We must have missed something. I don't know. I don't know how this has happened. But I'm not complaining, not one bit. These guys are so eager, so hungry to show off what they can do and to prove to people. Thomas HD, one of the greatest Fortnite players ever, still yet to win an FNCS. That is gonna mean everything to him, to all of Denmark as well, all the Danish fans cheering him on. And he's very close to making that dream a reality. Just has to play 3 more games of Fortnite.
The zone's a classic one where Janice and Reason can continue to rain terror on the rest of the lobby, and at the same time, Huizi and Vino can look to control high ground once again. Go for a win. It's the same zone that people on screen are seeing right now, the likes of Perceive, Fastroki, Hydro. A lot of the players who are 20th to 30th in the lobby are having trouble with in terms of rotations towards the next portion of the game. The rest of the map has to move. And that east side can change so very fast. Rivers in the way. The mountain, the snowy region, you have to make adjustments fast. Could be different game after game. The one thing that's the same every time is Anvil Square. Just saw Coop with his duo rock-in. ZX down now. That fight's going on over and over again. Thomas and Malabuka, business as usual as well. Never really interrupted in their looting path on the north side.
Yeah, these guys are consistently making it to end games. It's just about what they do there in end games. Coming into the finals, the question was, will they be able to stay together as a duo, or are we going to see them constantly having to make solo plays? That's been a problem for them in end games this season. Last game, they did a great job of sticking together all the way up until the end.
The way Malabuka just kind of survives as well all the way towards that spot is just so impressive.
Della and Pixie though, right? They aren't able to fight Axos and Vortexes off spawn, and so they will be very eager to get this fight out of the way against Steno and Lucia here, because this early surge could work wonders for getting them back into contention. This was a team, by the way, who coming into today we thought maybe had a chance, an outside chance albeit, of winning the whole thing, but not having early storm surge is really hindering them.
It's also not just the numbers for them, it's not just the surge, it's kind of the rhythm, right? You want to at least have that fight go down. So they're going to be in their natural element and get number 9 here of Europe. But the numbers ultimately do matter. It's the most at the end of the day. They do have to land their shots whenever they can. Lucia able to actually just sneak right by.
And the big difference between this and the fights they were having at Breakwater yesterday is that they were up against Axos and Vortexes, who they'd land before them, take shots at players who don't even have any loot. This time round, they're up against the Danes, Lucia and Senna, who they have loot, they have mats, they have shields. Look what Lucia's got in his inventory. This is a much more difficult fight than they're used to.
Very scary. And Lucia and Senna, I think they've been under such pressure in the weekly qualifiers up to this point as well. They've taken so many off-spawn engagements. They've learned to actually just de-escalate, and put that pressure down, slow down the fight entirely. And with you mentioning the way Pixie and Della fight off spawn, as soon as things get slow, these guys are at a complete disadvantage. So go for the fight. The rhythm is there. They got no numbers on the board. They have to go all the way back to Breakwater. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do at all.
Pink and Nebs. This is a team that I'm very interested in because they've sneakily kept themselves in and around that top 10. They're currently in there. They're holding on. You were surprised by the fact that they were able to survive as long as they did last game.
Yeah.
Because things are finally starting to click for this team in a season where they haven't been able to really get anything to fall for them.
I think this might be one of the most underrated performances we've seen in an FNCS from a duo. I know they're not all the way towards that first or second place right now, but the way they're surviving game after game, the way that they have absolute max pulls when it comes to zone, and they're still thriving. Hammer's being used perfectly. Down on Surge a lot of the time, but they find fights within the Storm and then still make it in the most congested sides. It has to be reviewed.
Although I do think that they could get things to click.
Zara and Zynga as well, specifically, I think they were just on screen, have also done a really good job at surviving and actually having some control when it comes to endgame, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people counted Zara and Zangi out, right? I think a lot of people would have expected them to struggle in these lobbies, but they've definitely been a presence in endgames, right? And that in itself is super impressive. Mr. Savage still alive in this game, ZX not, and so maybe we'll see a similar story to what we've seen from a couple other teams where you're scrambling to get your teammate back in the game and then trying to play catch up.
At least today they actually get to play at all. I think 2 games in a row now. We see them low ground and end games affecting a few duos left and right. So at least some happiness compared to the number 1.
Rifty.
Flodax, the reason got to play that last game. Dived inside the box, he was the one to give away that siphon. Him and Rifty, this user duo, kind of the main ones to focus on when you look at fights within the mid game. They're just so scrappy from start to finish.
20 seasons, I'd say. No, not 20 seasons. Like.
Yeah, right. You said it a couple of games ago. Every time you see this user duo, they're in some sort of fight. They love the action. This is interesting because I know Della and Pixie want action, but action against who? Janice and Reason on the defensive right now.
They know it's not shown on broadcast, but they're keeping track of how much surge they have. It's absolutely 0 right now in terms of the shots they've taken. So now, up against the first place team in the lobby, Della and Pixie are looking to all in a fight, it looks like. And look how far away Zone is. They have a minute to kind of finish this up. Already affecting the way Janice and Reason want to play this game. I know those two don't want to be here. Della and Pixie might have bitten off a bit more than they can chew. Pixie already losing a lot of the shields, and now it's Della who can't even find one pickaxe on the wall.
This endgame, I feel like they could have this.
This is one of those really tough, awkward fights because they committed a lot to that, right? And so for Pixie and Della to not be able to clean things up, Janice and Reason gonna leave.
Before going to fight them,
Janice and Reason, they didn't really get tagged there, so they didn't use much shields.
It's kind of like they're just driving. You know, someone in front of you does something crazy, and you're like, I don't know what type of day that person's having. That's kind of insane. Anyways, let's keep playing the game. Pixie and Della absolutely shifted though in the way their brains must be thinking. What do we do now? That's 2 teams where there haven't been a little bit of a chance of a fight that goes our way.
And of course, after the way they were running away, right, you've got to wonder what Janice and Reason's situation is on Surge, right? That's why Pixie and Della were so desperate to fight them. Thankfully, we have Taco here on the sideline to help us out and give us that update.
Well, actually, Levin, keeping a close eye on Giannis and Reason, we actually see Reason optimizing to go for clearing out some of these Oathbound chests. Unfortunately, hasn't been able to actually secure a Shockwave Hammer, despite opening 2 of them. But the one thing that helped them out with Pixie and Della is the fact that they've already managed to secure some of these Storm Surge tags earlier on with those red eyes. So instead of forcing the fight, they chose to disengage because they've already got what they're after, so they're going to optimize for positioning instead.
Great insight from Taco there in terms of the way the early game is going on. Kind of scary that after 2 Oathbound chests, these guys don't have hammers though, because we've seen the way that influences their game. They're able to get towards those next zones, the moving zones, so much easier for them. Have to adjust now.
Yeah, at the start of the season, it was almost a guarantee, right? But obviously, with all the things added to them, that probability is just a bit less.
Janice is bringing up Flodax again. Hopefully trying to find him.
Yo, can you sort me out, mate? I'd love a hammer right now.
Swizzy right now.
Smokey and Swizzy always seem to find themselves with or without hammers surviving. I feel like a lot of the duos in the lobby want to take control or just be away from others in their own space. These guys kind of thrive in the shadows of chaos almost. Whenever there's a fight, they're on the wall next to players, but not actually engaging as much.
This player
Trying to just take damage and get out. It's really interesting. Kami and Vanyak is what we saw on day one. Amazing performances, all the way from Vanyak almost every single time. The solo legend of you, it feels like. It's the reason they're just relatively high, just outside of the top 10, it looks like, on this day.
What does?
Yeah, I think you made the point right where Vanyak's become that guy, right? This is a guy that has like a really funny joke, so everyone always wants him to say the same joke. It's like, hey, Vanyak, man, can you do a solo clutch for us, please? I'm sure we'll get one today. Vexy and Debut, though, they had a really good first day, and they've been a bit quiet so far in this one. But now getting a bit loud, I think getting a bit loud. Debut actually gets taken out there. He does have some hope still in this fight. Needs siphoning his HP is dwindling. Time is ticking. Firebro, though, down on Surge. Needs to hit the shot, Vexy, but doesn't.
Firebro's there. I mean, for the Bull and Vexy, for me, I understand they're still swimming. They're still moving forward in day two, but it's like a fish caught in a net. Kind of riding in place, not really going anywhere. Still inside the water. Swizzy, Shimoki, always staying side by side, looking to see who they can actually target for fights. Do some damage to Savage. But now Surge is kind of coming in. They might have been a bit too passive. Savage finally going down. It was 400 below, though, and a player can really only offer you 200 damage, so that's fine, at least one more.
Yeah, look, you know, they did have like some Surge issues yesterday, right, for sure, but to be 400 down on Surge, Shayo, in game number 9 of day 2, that's not where you want to be if you're the 5th place team. That's the least I can say. They have to do something and fast. They're running out of shields, and you got to think, even if they are able to out-heal this one, you know, going into the later zones, what are they going to do?
It's the unique circumstance of this game. We just have a very central zone. A lot of the times we're watching EU on day 1 and day 2 in these earlier games. So many people are moving all the time. These guys have to shadow their duos, take pot shots, move to another. When it's a central zone, no one's really moving that much, right? Everyone kind of has that slow type of advantage to be able to play the game. As a result, Swizzy and Shimoki's game style, they find no tags.
Yeah, look, they're going to go down to Surge here. It's inevitable. Maybe before that, though, they can run into a box and just try, hope and pray they can hit 2 back-to-back 200 shots, which isn't going to be possible with the striker they've got. So, yeah, this is a very, very unfortunate game for them, right? Because if they do fall, there are so many teams who are still in this game that are hungry and are rising in the standings. The likes of Pink and Nebs obviously in there, Giras, Chari, Pixie and Delef, they're still in this one.
Him and getting all the tags that he needs.
You can't make a single mistake. We saw what a 70-point lead looks like too.
Weird, huh?
Nothing if you mess up a single game. And that wasn't even a complete disaster. Dennis' reason kind of made it back. They just didn't really get that top 10, top 5. You have to make it deep into that 8th zone.
No, wait,
Tripper and Scram actually having control with Honada
still in this.
and Revs.
Tag on
Swizzy finally down, and they'll be frozen in time. We now look at some of the big names who have already based up in Anvil Square. Verstappen and Taysom not want to let anyone pass without a little bit of cost. I'm liking this already, keeping things very low-key as a duo. Waiting for the zone to lock in and going for the next adjustment.
One of the most exciting things about this team, right, to watch and pay attention to is just how active Taysom has been as a fragger, right? Mini Miner alluded to it. It's been a trend we've seen in terms of some of the statistics when it comes to damage being dealt. You look at that team and you expect Merstash to be the one, right? To be the firepower, that cannon almost. Taysom's been in there. He's been carrying that responsibility. And it's been a while since he's had that level of power in a finals lobby like this, as good as he is. So a very, very scary sight for anybody in an endgame.
Although the hammers can play against them too, the one thing that's going for them that I seem to see them utilizing another game now, at least 2 out of 3 on day 2, is that forecast augment. Perfect positioning. The only duo that pulls that zone. They push forward, invest mats from the edge all the way in before anyone else moves. They have to know exactly with the zone locked in, and they're almost basically central. Looks so good.
Thomas and Malabuka get into zone as well now. That's what we're seeing, right? The best players in these good positions. Center third, they pull that fourth zone as well. Easy as you do. Queasy and Vino. You can see here just a quick little refarm just to keep their mats in check. And they're positioned way up to the north here. They'll be hoping the zone pulls up here. Otherwise, if it goes towards that north, they have quite the ways to go.
It's water again for EU, and we saw the issues for materials. When it comes to Surge, so many players are just trying to force these shots, break your walls. Reason landing a few good ones here too. Uncharacteristically a lot lower than usual. By the time we tune in, 300 to 400 is kind of where they're at, moving from point A to point B in the game. Once again, the zone just being so central makes less teams just moving openly. A lot of players get to play the game slower. As a result, I think Surge across the entire board is going to be a lot lower. Queasy Vino also just need to find some damage fast, and already just one wall open for a split second and shot straight to the head.
And you can really see just preemptively making sure that path towards the south is possible.
They can get those tags on their reason and eliminate them.
Issues for Bevies and Pablo Wingu. Vortex was the Axe Force. Well and alive, that will say a lot for endgame when it comes to high ground control, but looks like it's a desperate fight that these two will go for. Revive of Bevies immediately down, does get Pablo Wingu into just one more space in terms of boxes. But this is just absolutely a cooked situation. Nothing for Pablo to really do. He's up and against players that are absolutely stacked in loot and HP. He'll try to get in, but I guess it'll just be a gift for Gear S and Chari, who's also, I feel like, might be low on Surge. Maybe that lightning strike was just late on Pablo.
That was the toughest brick wall ever. You pick up the wall and just gets eliminated. Zone pulls towards the east, and so still a lot of the lobby yet to make it there.
Thomas, Malabuka, Tayson, Mustache, both two duels will have prime positions on this east side. Will not really have to build, will have so much more to use for the end of the game.
And the good thing is, from where they sit, all these players now flying free. You see Tayson and Mustache set up perfectly here just to take shots, get their surge threshold even higher. And you can see they're using a bush now as well in this box, so they're so much harder to hit for anybody who even wants to stop and take a moment to look at them.
Janice and Reason also seem to be right beside Thomas, and everyone looking surprisingly good on Surge here. Reason and Janice, the ones who have to kind of hold on to this one now. Tayson Mustache finally moving in, just takes one little hammer to be adjusted. They're kind of in the lead in terms of knowing the information around who's where, around who just faced up, who looks weak, but Pixie and Della all the way up top, they're the ones to take height first.
And we know they can hold on to it. They know how to play it. They understand how to dominate this layer. Need to be careful though. Can't overpeak. Don't have much shields. And once again, just jumping up and leaving themselves exposed. These are the little things, the small details that go such a long way. And the potential for a high hold now just becomes even more difficult. But fortunately for them, the best hack team in the lobby isn't looking too strong themselves in that regard. Queasy and Vino having to use all their remaining shields just to have any sort of decent HP.
With being this far away from zone, that zone's slightly going uphill as well. They'll have to use all three hammer charges to get just into that next circle. Banyak, Karmi, they were the ones who were kind of beaming Pixie all the way on high ground. They go all the way down to the ground now. And elect to rotate themselves. Everyone now just on movement, barely even a single shot fired in the sky. Queasy and Vino, I was gonna say they're just trying to rotate in the zone. They just take height.
This is where they want to be. This is where they feel comfortable. Even when things maybe aren't as fruitful when it comes to loot and mats. If they think they have enough to hold it, they will go for it. And there aren't going to be too many contests this game, you think, especially with the struggles that Pixie and Della had. Thomas and Malabuka, they've been so consistent here on low ground. I expect to see them continue to just tarp their way on through these zones. Seti and Cammy, who you associate with being a dominant low team, aren't quite able to piece things together. Mustache and Tayson, they find such a big refresh at this stage in the game. That's going to be huge. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them come away with a win now at this stage, as they keep moving through these zones, traveling through all these different layers, all these different elevations. And you're seeing how some teams are struggling with it. If you don't have that hammer, it's so hard.
You won't just have to move, you'll have to climb. The ground's moving up now. Once again, we're getting icy cold straight to the glaciers. Big long hills. Dylan Pixie looking mighty dry, super high, now find themselves all the way down towards low ground, trying to bully a few boxes, trying to see if they can find anything for the moment, but Surge is really ticking down. Just one shot is what Dylan needs to land. He finally finds it, 18 below though. It might just net down to 0. 12 above for Dylan Pixie to get to breathe, but look at the cost. No mats, no chance. Not a problem to live, but will they thrive?
They have to get in a box, you think. They need a refresh, even if they deal with their Surge. They're 12 above now. Look at their mats. Look at their shields. They need something to save their game. Vino, Queasy's down, and he's moved to the front side of the zone. Actually, no, in the back side of the zone. Now trying to move towards the front, and he'll reclaim height. But with his free builds, you've got to think at some point this comes to an end.
Look at how low the entire lobby is too. Half this entire zone is going to be on top of a cliff. Everyone now going down. Vino barely makes it. A shotgun shot, a big siphon, he's super healthy, but no mats. Hides, he knows there's barely even anyone here. They're all trapped down below, but he will have to leave the high ground at one point. The safe haven is not gonna reign true for so long. He tries to get close to personal with a shot that would have been huge, but it's not gonna be possible. Pink right in front of him down below, he has to chase it, but the spray is not gonna connect. No mats just yet, just a few more to use. 2 builds, how far can he stretch them?
Close but no cigar. So many opportunities there for him, but he can't quite connect to anything. Reason and Janice, they're still in this game. They're lurking in the backside. The zone pool's so generous to them. They don't have the mats to really claim any sort of layer, so they just sit there and wait.
Thomas Malabuka also very active. 6 elims, and I saw Taysom getting a few in the feed, so those high and mighty duos who are looking to take away that first place, they might be getting very close to it here. Mustache and Taysom on the other side of Thomas and Malabuka are just absolutely splitting this low ground apart.
Wow. Just wow, claiming space and taking shots to just wipe everybody off these layers. Cammy just dropped right into their box. They need that refresh. Cade now on the other side.
They just have shots left though. That refresh has to come in fast. They do pick up Cammy. Might just be 150 mats. Bing up top looking for a few shots. Seti finally going down, so this split apart. Another duo to share between each other. Thomas not having so many mats, but those will also dwindle. Thomas now getting very close to Tayson. Side by side, looking to see who can survive.
A big collision is coming. Thomas and Malabuka against Mustache and Tayson. You've got to think it's coming, but no, Cade, he's going to interrupt it. He takes down Tayson, but Malabuka and Thomas have their own troubles now. They can't stay alive. They will fall. Mustache is still in this one. He hits a big shot there. Takes down Kyrie. He's still in this. A 1v1 now against Ping. There's no way Mustache wins this now. Ping, he leads the farm. He has a couple more mats left. He is able to hold on, but for just how much longer? Mustache has time to heal, and you know he can connect with a big shot. Mustache versus Ping. Everything on this one. Now the hammer play to move up. Can't quite connect. Ping can connect. He will take him down. But Mustache, to stay alive for that long, 7 elims in that game. You've got to wonder what that means for them in their pursuit of first place. Ping and Kyrie take the game. But Mustache and Tayson, they might take the standings.
That looks so close for all 3 different teams, right? One team taking max placement. Mustache and Tayson looking to take max Elam points off of that one. And Thomas Malabuka right behind him. You have to be nervous in this spot as Ping as well. Kyrie finally going down. He stops Thomas, a legend in his own right. And then Mustache right after again. Going so close, a game of inches on his aim in terms of landing that shotgun shot. But Ping was there, he held it down, and he wins the game.
And look at Kyrie, he's so happy to see his teammate close things out. Ping did phenomenally, right? Because so many times this season, we've seen when the player goes up with the shockwave hammer at the end, the player on height not quite able to hold on. He kept his cool, kept his nerve, and he wins the game for his team. That's huge for them, right? Where any difference in points now is going to be massive in terms of as we head into these final games for them in the standings.
Yeah, top 20, top 15 definitely shaken up with Ping and Kyrie escalating through the boards, but that top 4, that top 5 11, so much more to be seen. Frankie, what do we got?
Well, we've got a duo that absolutely smashed it.
Thank y'all for watching my grand finals predictions and who I think will win. I can't wait. Please go to let's see if they have it. Fortnite. Competitive. They are streaming, so if you want to go look at the last couple of games on EU, you can also go here You can go here, and then if you also want, if you have Twitch instead, you can go to Fortnite. They are streaming it there. Thank you for watching.